Hello students, welcome back. So today I'm going to start your first biology chapter, that is life process. This is the lecture number 1. The world is made up of living and non-living things. So guys, now how can you differentiate between living and non-living? So we can differentiate between living and non-living on the basis of certain characteristics. Now let us see what are these characteristics. So the characteristics of living things like ability to move, produce offsprings, means giving birth to new individuals, then respond and react, respond to external change, then get rid of waste matter, that means the excretion process, then take food to stay alive, and turn food into energy. So these are the few characteristics of living things. Now let us see what are these processes known as. So processes like nutrition, respiration, excretion, transportation, reproduction, sensitivity and growth are known as life processes, which helps to sustain and maintain life. Now we will learn about these processes in detail in this chapter called life processes. Alright, now let's see. Nutrition. So the living organisms, they need energy for growth and maintenance, which they obtain from food, and food contains nutrients. So now let's see the definition for nutrients. Substances which an organism obtains from its surroundings and uses as a source of energy. Okay, so nutrient is a substance which is used by an organism to survive, growth and reproduce. Example, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, etc. Alright, the process of intake of nutrients and its utilization. Here utilization means use for various functions by an organism is called as nutrition. Alright, so nutrition means the process of obtaining food necessary for health and growth. So nutrition provides raw material to sustain life. Alright, so the ways of obtaining food is known as modes of nutrition. So there are two modes of nutrition. So first one is autotrophic and the second one is heterotrophic. Alright, so first we will see in autotrophic nutrition, the organism takes in inorganic substances from the surrounding and converts it into organic food. So for example, green plants in presence of sunlight, they takes in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So carbon dioxide is an inorganic substance, and water from the soil. So water is also an inorganic substance and convert it into food by a process known as photosynthesis. Right? So this mode of nutrition is known as autotrophic nutrition. Here auto means self and trophic means nutrition. So how do we define autotrophic nutrition? Autotrophic nutrition is a mode of nutrition in which organisms synthesize their own organic food. So we can say that it is a process where an organism prepares its own food from a simple inorganic materials. Such organisms are called as autotrophs. Example, most plants and some bacteria. Here only green plants. However, there are some organisms which cannot prepare their own food, right? So they depend on other organisms for their food. Now let us see some examples. So here some examples are given like lion, tiger, deer, panda, etc. They all depend on other organisms for their food. So this mode of nutrition is known as heterotrophic nutrition. Here hetero means depending on others and trophic means nutrition. So example, all animals and fungi. In heterotrophic nutrition, different organisms use different strategies to obtain food depending upon, here strategies means methods. So depending upon first body design, depending on the type of body system. Example, herbivores need different food compared to carnivores based on their digestive system. Now let us see. Here in herbivores have a long intestine. Can you see? This deer has a long intestine, whereas carnivores have short intestine. So we can say that the herbivores eat grass whereas carnivores eat flesh. Alright? Second point is organization. Whether the organism is unicellular or multicellular. So unicellular organism has different mode. Example, amoeba, whereas multicellular organism has different mode, like us humans. And the third is the functioning, depending on whether the organism is saprophytic or parasitic. Then the last point, availability of food material, depending on what is the type of food available around the organism. Okay guys, now see, some organisms, they break down food into simple substances outside the body, then they absorb it inside. For example, fungi like yeast and mushroom and some carnivorous plants. Now plants which feed on insects are called carnivorous plants, alright? Okay, now let us see how. For example, we will take mushroom. So these are the food particles, and the mushroom, they releases enzymes. So they digest food into simple substances and then they absorbs it. Can you see it? Okay. Here some organisms, they break down food inside the body, then they absorb it. For example, human beings, cat and cow. Let us see how. Food is taken in and after that it is broken down into simple substances. Right? After that it is absorbed in the blood. Can you see it? Okay, some animals and plants derive nutrition from other plants or animals without killing them. But during the process, they harm the host or animals. Now let us see some examples. Cascata, ticks, lice, leeches, tapeworms, etc. So cascata, it is a parasitic plant which derives nutrition from other plants. So this is cascata. It is a parasitic plant. Then ticks. So ticks is also a parasite that found on the bodies of animals like dogs. Clear? Next is lice. So it is also a parasite found in hair of animals as well as in human beings also. Then leeches. So it is a blood-sucking parasite. Can you see it? Then tapeworms. So the worms found in the intestine of man and derives nutrition from there. Clear everyone? Now see, how do organisms obtain their nutrition? Since the food and the way it is obtained differ, the digestive system is different in various organisms. As I already explained you that herbivores have long intestine whereas carnivores have short intestine, right? So in single-cell organisms, the food may be taken in by the entire surface. So in case of single-cell organisms, the food is taken in by the entire surface. But as the complexity of the organism increases, different parts become specialized to perform different functions. So as the complexity of the organism increases, therefore different parts, they become specialized to perform different functions. So we will take an example of amoeba. Amoeba takes in food using temporary finger-like extensions of the cell surface which fuse over the food particle forming food-vacuole. So it is called pseudopodia. So pseudopodia is basically used for locomotion, alright? Now see here, in case of amoeba, the pseudopodia encircle the food and engulf it, resulting in the formation of a food vacuole. Inside the food vacuole, complex substances are broken down into simpler ones which then diffuse into the cytoplasm. So inside this food vacuole, the complex substances, they breaks down into simpler ones and then they diffuse it into the cytoplasm. Alright, so the remaining undigested material is moved to the surface of the cell and thrown out. So these are the digestive products, and the undigested material, it is moved to the surface of the cell and then it is thrown out. I hope everyone is clear. Okay, thank you students.